Hello everyone, I am Mohamed Al-Nahhal. I am a PhD student in optical fiber communication using machine learning. In this video, I will present the principal component analysis PCA. My talk is roughly divided into four parts. The first part is overview of PCA. In the second part, I will explain in detail the PCA algorithm step by step. In the third part, I will mention the PCE advantages, limitations, and applications. In addition to the difference between PCE and linear regression. At the end, I will show a sample application of PCE I have done using Python. Let's start. First part, overview of PCE. Firstly, principal component analysis. PCE is the most common dimensionality reduction algorithm. In the machine learning, PCE is the unsupervised machine learning algorithm that is used for reducing the dimensionality of dataset, determine a new meaningful fundamental attributes. The PCA algorithm transforms the original dataset of large correlated attributes into a new dataset of uncorrelated attributes. These uncorrelated attributes called the principal components, and these components are linear combination and orthogonal of the original attributes. And these components might be two for two-dimensional dataset. The first component represents the most potential differences of the original datasets. Second one is responsible to determine the variance in the dataset. The second part, PCE algorithm. There are 6 steps to implement the PCE algorithm. Step 1, data standardization or normalization. Second one, calculate the covariance matrix. Third one, calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of the covariance matrix. Then choosing the principal components and forming feature vector, and finally drive the new dataset. In the following slides, we explain each step in detail. First step, data standardization or normalization. The object of this step is to transform the original range of all attributes into comparable scales so that each attribute equally contribute to the analysis in order to prevent the problem of biased results due to the dominance of some attributes over other attributes for the object function. This step can be done for each attribute by subtracting the attribute's mean from each value of the attribute. For example, if we have two-dimensional attributes x and y, the new attributes become x equal to x minus the mean of x, y equal to y minus mean of y. Step 2. Covariance matrix calculation. The object of this step is to find the correlation between the attributes, and the highly correlated attributes refer to the existing redundant information. To determine these correlations, we should calculate the covariance matrix. For an example, the covariance matrix for three-dimensional attributes x1, x2, x3 can be given by this equation, where the covariance of I and j is the covariance between attributes I and j. If this value positive, this means the attributes increase or decrease together and there are correlation between them. If this value negative, one attribute increases and other decreases, and the relation between them is inversely correlated. If this value is zero, there are no correlation between attributes. Eigenvalues and eigenvectors calculation. Eigenvalues and eigenvectors are the concept of linear algebra that are required to determine the principal components of the dataset from the covariance matrix. The eigenvalues represent the amount of divergence depicted by each principal component, and each eigenvalue is corresponding to eigenvector that is can be obtained by solving this linear algebra equation, which is n by n dimensional matrix. I is the identity matrix, lambda is eigenvalues, v is the eigenvectors. Eigenvectors give the weights to calculate the uncorrelated principal components, and these vectors provide the direction of the most stretched dataset cloud. Principal components choice. The principal components are the new attributes that are uncorrelated linear combination and orthogonal. The first step of this component contains the most information, means most variance on the original attributes as shown in this figure. As we see, the first component contains the most percentage variance, subsequent the second, and so on. The components with high variances will be considered as the new attributes, and the component with low variances will be discarded. This allows us to reduce the dimensionality of the dataset without losing much information. Because components that we will be discarded, it will contain a few information. Geometrically, the principal components actually represent the directions of the dataset that demonstrate the maximum variance amount. The maximum variance amount means the maximum amount of the information. Therefore, the principal components are the estimated eigenvectors of the covariance matrix, and the coefficients of eigenvectors are the eigenvalues that provide the amount of variance of each principal component. By organizing these eigenvectors according to their eigenvalues from the highest to lowest, the principal components are ordered based on the significance. In order to reduce the dimensionality of the dataset, we can choose first to be principal components out of the total components. Feature vector. As we saw in the previous steps, we compute the eigenvectors and ordering them by their eigenvalues in descending order allow us to find the principal components based on significance. So what is the benefit of this step? The object of this step is to choose to keep all principal components or discard the principal components with the lowest significance, and the selected principal components to keep are formed as a matrix of vector, and this matrix is called feature vector and can expressed by this equation. As we see in the figure, the p-dimensional vector is the reduction by using this step is reduced into n-dimensional. Notes: if we choose to keep the first b principal components out of the total number of original attributes, the new dataset will have only b dimensions. So, based on what we are looking for, we can decide to do this step or no. For example, if we just want to describe our dataset in terms of new attributes, means principal components that are uncorrelated without seeking to further dimensionality reduction, discarding the lowest significant components isn't needed. Finally, this is the last step of the principal component analysis algorithm that aims to drive the new dataset. By using the extracted feature vector in the previous step, the dataset is reoriented from the original axis into other axes represented by the principal components, and this new representation is called principal component analysis. The new representation can be done by multiplying transpose both feature vector and standardized dataset or normalized dataset. The third part, PCA advantages. There are many advantages of PCA, such as removing the redundancy and noise of the dataset, can provide easier explore and visualize of the dataset, can also offer much easier dataset analysis. The machine learning algorithms that using PCA becomes faster than the other machine learning without using PCA. For a good data compression, PCA offers useful self-organized learning process. PCA provides an effective base for feature extraction in the case of the high correlation of attributes. There are some limitations of PCA. Requires data requires data diagonal matrix C, becomes heavy when the number of attributes is large, works best when each attribute follows a Gaussian distribution. Doesn't offer how many base dimensions to be used, and it is open for our decision based on try and error method. There are several applications of PCA: face recognition, data compression, recognition of handwriting characteristics, characters, image compression, compute vision, representation, pattern identification, gene expression analysis, data mining, physiology, etc. The difference between PCA and linear regression. In the PCA, we calculate the perpendicular projected from the points onto the best fit line of the dataset, as we see here. Perpendicular projection. Whereas in the linear regression, we calculate the vertical distance from the points to best fit line, as we see here in the figure. PCA is unsupervised machine learning because, as we see, there are no outputs. Why? While linear regression is supervised machine learning. This program is a simple application of PCA using Python. The program is divided into two parts. First part, driving the new dataset using the steps explained in the video. The second part is finding the new dataset using the scalar decomposition library. As we see, as we see in the program, firstly write the used libraries, then define the matrix, a data matrix, 3 by 2 for as an example, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Then we print here, as you see. After that, follow the steps in explained in the video: standardization,
covariance matrix calculation, eigenvalues, eigenvector calculation, and then finally find the new dataset here. Also, we can implementing instead of this all steps, we can implementing PCA using scalar decomposition. Just 3 lines. Define PCA and then fit on the data. After that, transform and then print the new dataset. As you see, the new dataset by steps, it is approximately the same with using the library. See, principal component here is eigenvectors. Explain the variance, it is eigenvalues here. Let's run the Python code here. The same. Let's back into the presentation. Finally, this is a reference used in to prepare this video. Thank you very much.